program, if there's one truth that we hold to be self-evident, well, at least that I hold to be self-evident, it's that everybody should have been fired after the 2024 season. So making that case anew is a little too easy. Try a little harder. Good morning to you. Good Monday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot. Pirates comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. Reds 4, Pirates 0 yesterday in Cincinnati. Reds sweep all three games in Cincinnati. The Pirates produce all of 10 total hits. 2 of those yesterday. The final 23 batters being retired in a row. Where to start with why you would fire essentially all over again, at least in my mind, Ben Cherington, Derek Shelton, anybody who's in charge of anything, especially following all of the various off-field events of the past few days. So rather than state or restate the obvious, the blatantly obvious that they should be fired, what I'll do instead is offer the potential perils of doing that now, pretty much just so that you can cross all of that off the list. Let's start with Cherington, because from an ownership standpoint, and believe me, this decision is not going to be made by Travis Williams. If anything, Williams would be / should be in trouble himself right now after the bricks and the Clemente thing and everything else, just purely on a perception level, and lack of communication and lack of accountability and all else. So if Bob Nutting fires Cherington, what you do tacitly within that is you are changing the entire organization, because whoever your new GM is, just as was the case with Cherington, just as was the case before him with Neil Huntington, you're starting over. That doesn't mean you completely clean house, everybody just picks up and leaves. It does mean that every single individual is looked at, and every single individual has a fresh set of eyes, a fresh evaluation, and a very different, possibly, perspective for whoever's making that ultimate decision, meaning the new GM. You also can have new systems implemented. You can have new priorities brought in. And some departments will get bigger, some will get smaller. Whoever replaces Cherington is going to make the analytics group much smaller. I say that out of no sight or cynicism about analytics. It's just this one is absurd. So how do you do that in season? Answer, you don't. What actually happens in these scenarios is that an interim GM gets named. Well, what about the draft, for example? You've put not just a handful of months into the current draft, the one that's coming up, you've put years. Your scouts have been following some of these kids around for a long, long time, and their parents and their coaches and everything. You don't just throw everybody out. But in this case, if the GM goes, Steve Sanders is the one who's been running the draft. That's Cherington's assistant GM. Ever since he came aboard, he could still do that. You could name him interim GM. You could name Kevin Graves interim GM again, as happened during the transition between Huntington and Cherington. Graves has been with the team for 17 years. Trustworthy, competent professional, knows what he's doing. He could get the team through 4.5 months. What about the trade deadline and big events like that? I've got a real simple answer for that one. Do you want this guy doing it? Okay, then, let's move to the next subject. If you fire Derek Shelton, and you fired him like today, Don Kelly's sitting there as your bench coach. Kelly has interviewed for managerial jobs. Kelly is local, incredibly relatable and likable. I don't think that's just to Pittsburghers. But I would take a Pittsburgher right about now, wouldn't you? I would take someone who kind of talks like us a little bit, approaches the game the way we'd like to see it approached, the way he played it as a reserve guy who found himself in a World Series with the Tigers. quite possibly Jim Leland's favorite player he ever had in that regard, I would take that. Now here too, I would take it on an interim basis. If I'm nutting, I'd like to leave myself time to make sure that I'm making completely the best decision that I can. Now go right ahead and snicker as I say that, because he's also the one who hired all these guys, and he's also the one who hired all the guys before that. But one difference between those processes and this one is that he'd have a lot more time. He'd hear from a lot more different people. Sure, some of them are currently employed, but you're going to have to trust me when I tell you they do find a way to make contact. They do find a way to make it known that they're interested, and vice versa. And if you happen to find someone for either position in the interim, great. Go ahead and get them. Meaning if they're available, if they're not under contract, or if you've asked for some kind of permission or whatever, go ahead and get them. Bring them in. Let them see the talent firsthand. Meaning whatever they'd have that they would like on the Pittsburgh roster, whatever they have that they would like in the minors, whatever they would have that they would like in terms of the front office. So you don't have to make draconian sweeping decisions, everybody out of here, if there are in fact some you'd be better off keeping. And while I'm at it, I'm going to throw this at you. Pirates are facing the Nationals for the next 4 nights at PNC Park. Tonight, it's Paul Skeens against a relief pitcher for the Nationals, Brad Lord, who's made 1 start out of his 4 appearances. One would think that would benefit the Pirates. It doesn't mean they would be favored to beat anybody the way they hit, but it does mean, and I've seen this in sports, that you're going to give your new people or your promoted people, your interim people, a chance to get off to a decent start. That matters. You need to build up some kind of floor, really. Now, I say this, and I'm going to fully acknowledge that these first 7 minutes and 23 seconds of this program were a waste of your time, my time, and really anybody's time who might have been listening within the Pirates, because it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. It's not nearly horrific enough, apparently, yet. When we come back, J1Q.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstoragechek.org. That's gunstoragechek.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
Today's J1Q comes from Josh in Murraysville, who says, "Hey DK, I recognize that what I'm about to ask ranks well below Pirates' other faults, failures, and shortcomings. With that caveat, do the Pirates have a problem with strength and conditioning? Yeah, injuries are part of the game, but it sure seems like we have more than our fair share. Moreover, those are coming not after months of a grueling season, but very early on. And it's not just this season, it seems, but a pattern. Josh, the Pirates can't hit, and there are 2 reasons that they can't hit. One is that they're not good players as a whole, as a collective. There are, of course, good players within the group, but when you round it all out and you average it all out, what you have is an offense specifically, because that's really the conversation that we're having, that is below replacement level. For anybody who doesn't know what that means, there's a stat in baseball called wins above replacement, or just known as WAR. And that means exactly what it sounds like if you were to bring in the average replacement player, whoever that might be, just somebody who would step in for somebody else. The Pirates as a whole would be worse than a collection of those. And that stands to reason when you look at their 184. I'm going to repeat that, 184 batting average. That is 16 points below the Reds, who are at 200. Okay? That's how awful that is. They have only 10 home runs in 528 at-bats, even though they just played at Great American Bandbox. They have only 18 doubles in those 528 at-bats. They've struck out 151 times. Their slugging percentage of .290 is dead last. You get the idea, I would hope, here. It's just not good. They don't get the players, and then when they get the players, they don't make them better. Now, in this specific scenario, Matt Haig's brand new, and I understand he's already going to be taking some stray bullets in this. So I'm sorry, when you're just in essentially off the street, you're putting in your own program, or you're instructed to follow the existing program or the preceding program. It's just way too early to be looking at Haig. I didn't do that with Andy Haynes until year 2. They can't hit, and there really just isn't more to it than that. There are certain aspects of this start that'll lead to a natural reversion to the mean. And what I'm referencing there is Brian Reynolds is hitting 206. He's not going to do that, obviously. O'Neal Cruz is at 195 with 2 homers and 3 extra base hits out of 41 at-bats. That's not going to hold up. But what should scare the living heck out of anybody who's still hopeful about this is that almost everybody else is not exactly raising eyebrows with their starts, whether it's good or bad, which means that this is a team that just can't hit. It's not about, what did you ask about, conditioning? It's not about injuries. Would it help to have Nick Gonzalez in there? Sure, but what's Nick Gonzalez going to give you over Adam Frazier that's going to make some seismic difference here? Would it help to have whatever the first baseman's name was with the bum wrist that they acquired anyway? Sure, of course. Spencer Horwitz is his name. Or maybe, or who knows? Would it feel a little bit better to put out younger players than Frazier and Tommy Pham? And I don't even know if Manuel Valdez is young or old. I know nothing about him. Here, I'm checking now. He's 26. I have no idea who this individual is or why he's on the roster. And I will not apologize for that, okay? The good thing is Derek Shelton's got all the answers. He's ready for this situation. He, the former hitting coach, had this to say to reporters in Cincinnati yesterday after the game, including our own Jose Negron, related to the massive difference between the Pirates pitching and the Pirates hitting over the weekend there.
I thought we pitched well, or well enough to win. I mean, offensively, we got to be better, and right now, we have some improvement to do offensively.
Well, there you go. They just got to get better. That's what they say all the time, right? Even as they just continue to get worse and worse and worse, and nothing's done about it. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Pirates. We will do another one of these tomorrow.